Well, good Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hope your weekend is starting off well. It is November the 18th, 2023, and we're live here at the WCCO studio, downtown Minneapolis, every Saturday for the Minnesota Real Estate Show, hosted by Mike Overson, Illuminate Home Loans, Scott Wolmering, myself, Ryan O'Neill of the Minnesota Real Estate Team, REMAX Advantage Plus. We are live here for your questions, comments, thoughts, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And I got a lot to talk about with the local real estate market, mortgage update as well. Steve Groen, Standard Water, in studio with us here today. We've got a full house, as you can see, and we always welcome your questions, comments, thoughts. Mike, good morning to you, bud.
Hey, good morning, Ryan.
What's going on?
You know, same old, same old. Mortgage business is always changing. Got some good news to share with us this week, too. So stay tuned for the actual radio show here. We'll talk about rates and where they're at, where they're going, all that fun stuff.
Very nice. And Scott, good morning to you down at the end.
Yep, good to be here, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We love when you do that. Like Ryan said, this is a Minnesota Real Estate Show. We're going to be live in the studio for an hour. Love your comments, 612-294-6949. You can text us that or call us. And also, if you have any show topics, every week we try to bring things that are kind of fresh and new. If you have any show topics, definitely during the week, send it to us and we'll make sure we cover it.
Yeah, again, mnrealestateshow.com is where you can see all of our great partners like Steve Groen, Standard Water. Steve helps us with a variety of things. We're just talking about a radon deal that you guys were doing. Steve, you're a good man.
Well, thank you. We're here to help.
Yeah, good man. We're getting ready to go live on air again. News Talk 830 WCCO. Market update in the first segment, real estate update, mortgage update, and then we're going to be taking, again, any questions, comments, thoughts that come in as well. 612-294-6949. Mike, any thought, last thought before we go live?
Check out my Facebook page and my post that I put out yesterday. I think, did you guys see that at all?
What was it?
I don't want to spoil the surprise. I'm going to say it on air. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about that, but check out my Facebook page. It's good news about the mortgage.
Oh, no, I did see that.
Good news about mortgage.
Yeah.
You just forgot, Scott.
I did, which is par for the course.
All right, here we go. We're going live on WCCO. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Again, feel free to comment on the Facebook Live social media stream, too. Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for tuning in here, News Talk 830 WCCO, every Saturday morning for the Minnesota Real Estate Show, hosted by Mr. Mike Overson of Illuminate Home Loans, Scott Wolmering, and myself, Ryan O'Neill of the Minnesota Real Estate Team, REMAX Advantage Plus. We appreciate you joining us here November 18th, our final show before Thanksgiving coming up, and we are a local show. You can always join us using the CCO talk and text line, of course, and we also have our own unique number, 612-294-6949, 612-294-6949 by phone or text. That comes to us right during the show in studio. And then throughout the week, it just comes to us at our office. But we appreciate you listening. Again, this is a local real estate show. We're a local real estate team. We help people buy, sell, invest in real estate. And Mike Overson, Scott Wolmering, good morning to you guys. And thanks for being here as always.
Good morning, Ryan.
Yeah. Oops. Great to be here. I've been doing this for about 20 years and I still can't turn my mic on. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Love your questions, 612-294-6949. We are local every week, every Saturday, 10 to 11 here at the WCCO's studios, downtown Minneapolis. We are going to touch, like Ryan said, we're going to hit our market update on what's going on real estate wise. Mike's going to cover what's going on in a mortgage rate. But what makes this fun show is you. So again, 612-294-6949. If you are a little shy about asking your question on air, you can always text us that. And we'll handle it as it comes in.
Yeah, the interesting comment, Mike, this week, I saw this week that they came out, they said that there's a record number of Americans now that own their home without a mortgage at all. So the share of US homes without a mortgage jumped 5 percentage points from 2012 to 2022 to a record of near 40%. 40%. Thoughts on that, Mike, as you hear that that high of a number of Americans that own their home, no mortgage on it at all?
I know the answer, so we'll see if Mike gets it right.
I never would have guessed that it was at 40% though.
Well,
Doesn't that seem high?
Well, think about it. Graying of Minnesota, the average age in Minnesota is 60-ish, and that's across the country. So everybody's getting older. The older you get, the longer you've been in your house, the more it's going to be paid
I
off.
suppose, yeah. That's
40%.
crazy though. That's a high number.
That is a
Yeah.
high number.
Part of it for the mortgage update again with that sharing that statistic. So mortgage, Mike, if you're looking at a pool of people that's already shrunk down by 40%, talk a little bit from a mortgage update. Obviously rates, but just activity and kind of what you're seeing.
Yeah, so let's talk about rates first. So I'm going to quiz you guys. If you guys saw my Facebook post yesterday, guess how far mortgage interest rates have come down since October 26th.
1.3%.
Since October 26th?
Yep, October 26th. How much did they come down?
0.5%, Mike.
They've come down 0.75 of a point.
So 1 full percent since October
Okay.
26th. So 3 weeks, 1% down. And this time it feels different. And the reason why it feels different is because the main cause of interest rates coming down since then was inflation data. The Feds have finally come out and said inflation is under control. At least they feel like it's under control. It's in a good spot. It's heading in the right direction. And so I think this is actually going to stick. And I think this is the start of interest rates sliding down versus sliding upwards. So I'm very curious to see what happens here between now and the end of the year. So today we're sitting in the low 7s. So you're probably right around 7% flat right now, depending on credit score and other factors. If we can drift down and get to 6.5 to 6.75 by the end of December, I think it'll hold true. My gut will tell me we were right, and it's sticking, and it's going to hold true. And we might even then be down into 6 and 6.25 by the spring market.
Yeah, really good news. Good news to hear, obviously, for buyers out there, for sellers in the market. An update for statistics in the Twin Cities, comparing year over year numbers. New listings or new homes for sale are up 6.6%. There were 1,048 new properties that came on the market. Pending sales were exactly flat. So they were exactly even compared to last year at this time. There were 761 pendings. And then the overall inventory of homes is down 6%, 8,805. So less inventory here in the Twin Cities than even last year. Last year was, again, a historically low inventory of homes for sale. Even a 6% less than that, Scott. And Steve, as always, what do you got for us?
I just got a quick question. So if interest rates come down a point, does that mean more homes are going to go on the market? What does that mean?
Yeah, what do you think, Scott?
I mean, this time of year, there's not going to be a lot of homes going on the market. You know, it's interesting that I'm going to make this comment, considering that this is the lowest inventory we have ever had. Ever. I mean, I'm talking about in the history of a Minneapolis area. We've never had this amount of homes that's low. So best sellers market we've ever seen. People have to keep that in mind. That's what we're in right now. Going into the spring, the fear I've got is that we've been running at this low inventory now for about 3 years. And with rates going up, things have stopped. Not as many homes going on the market, not as many getting chewed up as it is, so our volume is down. We've not seen 11,000, 12,000, 13,000 homes and an interest rate at 7-ish. If we see that going into the spring, I mean, I can see that we could see a flattening for sure. If inventory grows to that amount, I think we probably could.
Yeah, again, 612-294-6949 is how you can join us. We've got Chris from Lakeville who is calling. Chris, thank you for joining the Minnesota Real Estate Show, and how can we help?
My parents have a nice townhouse which they needed to sell for the assets. They have they're now in an apartment. Things are going great, except their townhouse has been on the market since mid-June. And I know there's so many variables that go in. Clearly, interest rates didn't help. Maybe it's price. Do you have any advice on something new to try, or should things perhaps get a little better, or is it time to move on and find a new realtor?
This is Scott Wolmering. That's a great question. Can I ask you what price point the townhome is in? Okay, yeah, that's what I figured. So here's what's happened. When the market went from 7% interest rates to 8.5%, everything kind of shut down. That was about 90 days ago, where that kind of change was happening. What got hit the most was middle to upper bracket single family homes. So let's call it 600 to $1 million, and upper bracket townhomes, which I classify for anything that's about 375 and above. So I'll give you an example. I won't name the builder, but I've done a backup homes for this builder for 20 years. So I've sold about 40 of this exact townhome. 90 days ago, this townhome was selling for $380,000. There were 4 of them in the development. That's what they sold for. So we went on at 375, no interest. We dropped to 350, no interest. We dropped to 335, multiple offers, and they got 345. So that's about a $40,000 difference between the same exact townhome in about a 90-day period. So what I would tell your is this your folks? I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was.
Yes.
That had it listed.
Yes,
Your folks
yeah.
have it listed.
Yeah.
So I would look at this. I would look at the activity that you're. The agent should be able to look at the analytics on the amount of people that actually have the townhome saved, and then how many people have it saved as a favorite and a possibility. That will give you your answer. And so if they go in and they see that activity, and let's say there's 400 people that have a saved search that meets the criteria of your townhome, and either 1 or 2 or none have saved it as a favorite, you got a price problem. It doesn't really matter. That's what it is. And the only price reduction that makes sense is the next search criteria. So if you're listed at 400, the only price reduction that's going to give you any other activity, any other people that haven't seen it, is a 375, then a 350. That's the only way you can battle in this market.
Yeah. Again, thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for calling in. As Scott mentioned, obviously price is the big thing. And then maybe take a look at, from a photo standpoint, from a virtual tour, from a marketing standpoint. Certainly, it sounds like you're working with a great agent. I would encourage you to continue.
Or you might not be working with a great agent. I mean, I don't know if they're a great agent or not.
Yeah, just to be respectful of that relationship, I would definitely reach out to him or her on that. But again, marketing perspective, look at some photos, maybe freshening up those photos, perhaps staging, price. And price is kind of king and queen in this market. But we really appreciate you calling, listening to the show. Here we're up against our first break at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us here. We'll be back after the break.
Great question.
Yeah, really good question. We received a comment here as well for all of us to talk slower. So
that's probably geared towards me. Sorry, I talk fast.
So thank you for the comment. We appreciate the feedback, good, bad, or ugly. But they said you guys need to talk slower. All right, we will.
So that was a 450 townhouse, she said?
Yes.
450. Yeah. Tough.
It's
tough.
It's price.
Well, think about what I meant by it puts them in the same kind of numbers as a 650 to $1 million house, which has gotten hit the worst. Because if you're 450 grand and then you throw on top of that a 250 to 300,000 or $300 association, your payment's the same as if you bought a $600,000 single family home.
Yeah.
So that's why that struggles. And the only reason I'm an expert on it because I literally just dealt with it. I've sold this exact townhome so many times, and it's a $40,000 difference.
Yeah, again, really good question. Thank you. So many nice comments coming in on social media. We got people from around the world joining us. Anogun from Nigeria watching us on LinkedIn. Mentioned you're a brand designer as well. Good morning, Bill Ebert with a nice comment. Awesome agent. Good morning to you, Bill. Mike, what do you think? So, I mean, moving forward, thoughts, helpful suggestions for people.
My post yesterday kind of said it all. I said, attention home buyers. Rates have come down a full percent since October 26th. And I think that's going to continue. I think as we move forward here over the next few weeks, they're going to trickle down a little bit more. And we're also getting into the best time of the year. If you're trying to get a deal on a house, the next 3 months is when you're going to get a deal. The winter months in Minnesota is the time you get the best price on a house. As soon as we get into mid to late February and forward, then the spring market's here.
That's right.
You're going to be dealing with probably even lower interest rates, which are going to bring more buyers out of the wood. And you're going to be competing against more offers on the same house you're looking at. What's that going to do? It's going to drive up the prices.
It's so frustrating. We've done this show for so many years, and I can think of markets through the years. You know, the one that sticks out in my mind, but you know, back in 2008, 2009, we were screaming that if you have the ability to buy a house, if you can scrape the money together, buy anything you can possibly buy, because it was at an all-time low. I mean, you would have literally doubled what your home value was if you bought a house back in 2009. It's literally worth double what you paid for it. And it's so hard to get it out because people are like, well, no, it's a horrible market. Well, yeah, it's a horrible market if you're selling back then, but not if you're buying. And this is the same kind of thing right now. There's going to be so many people that wait to the spring to buy, and you're going to pay 10% more for the exact same house that you could buy in the next 3 months.
Yep.
Yeah, again, we talked about inventory in the first segment, historically low inventory. Mike's got good news, rates coming down. Fellow agents, brokers watching, that's good news for all of our clients as well. Steve Groen, Standard Water, is our radon partner, but he owns a company again called Standard Water. Steve, general services you guys provide?
Sure. Radon mitigation, egress windows, basement.
Is that mic working?
He's terrible. He's terrible.
You don't need to talk in the mic right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So radon,
Hey,
egress.
I'm only on the show every 6 weeks.
I know.
Second time to CCO.
I know. Scott's giving him such a bad time. So radon, egress. What else?
Basement waterproofing, sump pumps, and foundation repair.
All right, here we go. We're going back live on air. We're going to talk more with you, Steve.
Talking the mic.
Again, thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope your weekend's going well. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We hope your weekend is going well, and you're always welcome to join us. You can reach out to the CCO talk and text line anytime throughout the show. Or again, we've got our own unique number, 612-294-6949, that comes in directly to us in studio here during the show, and then to our office throughout the week. We did have a question. Brian Benjamin, he said, hey, Ryan, I'm a longtime listener here. There are reports from Sunbelt cities and also cities like St. Louis that investment groups are selling portfolios of single family homes. Their financing has just dried up. I'm curious if you guys are seeing any investor groups selling in the Twin Cities metro. Will this help at all with the home supply for sale here? Scott, any thoughts on that?
It hasn't hit us yet, but it's coming. I mean, if you go again back to 2008, we had some major players come into town that were buying again because they knew how it worked. They were buying anything they could possibly buy. You would literally get a purchase agreement sent over sight unseen from one of these hedge funds, and they would just write a full price offer on your house and buy it. And at some point, those are going to come back on the market. It just has not hit us yet at this point. You know, before we get more into real estate, one request that has come up since we switched over to WCCO, we quit asking the random question that we would ask every week, just kind of a fun question, non-real estate related. This is actually one I'll throw out there, and you can text us your answer, and we'll cover kind of how people are thinking about it. But Ryan and I just talked about this. Are you a self-checkout person, or are you a go to somebody else checking your things out? I knew when I called Ryan, he's a self-checkout person. I am not. I want somebody else ringing my stuff through. Whenever I go to the self checkout, I end up screwing it up, double clicking something, some double pay. Takes me way more time. I'm holding up other people that hate me. I hate self checkout.
So are you or are you not a self-checkout person, and why? Feel free to share any fun analysis or reasoning with that. Mike Overson, Illuminate Home Loans. I know you are a self-checkout person.
Yes, unlike Scott, I can figure out those pretty basic machines there to check my own stuff out, and it's usually quicker. So I am definitely a self-checker outer.
Steve Groen, Standard Water. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I'm a little of both. We got to go over under at 10. So if the items are under 10, I'm self-checkout. It's more than that. I'm like, I don't want to do it because I might miss one item. You got to stand in line, and then you got to have that light beeping, and then the noise, and then people look at you like you can't figure this out because I'm a little bit like Scott sometimes.
Yeah, it is interesting that and thank you, Brian, for your question about investment properties. They're really not coming onto the market. There are a lot of these companies that own properties in the Twin Cities that are actively held as rental properties right now. And we have seen, again, as we've mentioned over the weeks, just an increase in rental supply in the Twin Cities, a lot of new apartment complexes, over the last 5-10 years. But from a single family standpoint, Mike, still a shortage out there. We see a lot of emails within our team of, hey, I'm looking for an investment, a rental property for my client. I can't find one.
Yeah, there is a shortage out there. And the big driver, and we shared this, in team trainings and things like that too, is, take a guess. So if you look between 2000 and 2010, how many millions of homes were built across the U.S.? You guys remember?
You know what? I don't, but I know it is. Go ahead.
So 2000 to 2010, there was 27.2 million homes built in that decade, right? Now you go 2010 to 2020. How many millions of homes were built between 2010 and 2020?
Half of that.
How many, Mike?
5.2 million.
So a quarter of that.
A quarter,
Yeah.
right? Under a quarter, a
Yeah.
fifth of it, right? And so that's part of our inventory problem here is that for the 4 decades previous to 2020 or 2010, we had anywhere between 22 million and 27 million homes being built per decade. Over the last 10 years, between 2010 and 2020, only 5.2.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why home prices are not going to go down. That's why our inventory is not going to go up. We didn't build any homes. And so that's going to hold prices where they're at. I get a lot of questions of like, God, with rates where they're at and the low activity, home prices have to come down, don't they? I'm like, no, they don't.
No, they don't.
No, they don't, because of inventory.
I had a comment here on Facebook. Helena Shirley says, human interaction is important and self-checkout is leading to retail theft.
Yes, because don't tell me it's never crossed your mind when you're paying
Gosh,
$9 for cottage cheese to just be like,
That's terrible.
I'm going to throw that in there. I can't take the stress of having that run through my mind. Okay, can I get out of here with this cottage cheese? I'm actually the opposite. If I didn't pay for something and I realize it, I will drive back to the store and pay for it. It's karma.
Yeah.
It's karma.
Helena, I think it's a really important point, though, that human interaction. And I've heard the same thing about stores going to that from getting out of the self-checkout. Some people have talked about AI and totally getting rid of people helping you at the front checking out. I'm a big believer, though, that Mike, I like that. What do you think about that human interaction aspect?
I think it's great. I go back to Steve's point. If I'm going through and getting groceries and I got like 40 things, I do have a person ring it up.
Yeah.
And they bag it for you and stuff like that. That's nice. So, I mean, I don't know. Does human interaction at the grocery store or other retail store, is that I don't know, big deal these days?
Jen Tischlitter, great agent on the Minnesota real estate team, says, I am not a self-checkout person. I like the interpersonal communication and I always screw it up. And then her daughter, Emily, is with Jen, said, Emily is with me and she loves the self-checkout. So she's in her, yeah.
Oh, the younger crew loves the self-checkout.
Right.
Yeah, I want somebody else to do stuff for me.
Scott.
I don't want to do their job. I want them to do their job. I would love it if they bagged it, although I do prefer to bag on my own because I believe I do it better.
Yeah, we are up against the halfway
Wow.
point. Hey,
Wow.
this is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. You are welcome to join us each week. We are a local real estate team. We're here helping people buy homes, sell homes, invest in real estate. And we welcome your questions, comments, thoughts, anything related, obviously, to real estate, mortgage. Steve Groen here today with Standard Water, talking about basements, about radon, about water in the basements after the break as well. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for joining us. A lot of fun comments coming in. Good topic. Steve Groen, you got any thoughts to share on that topic there, young man?
Well, I'm still thinking about how we bag groceries. I mean, I bring in my Trader Joe bags and some other bags. I don't like the paper things that fall apart. You need two of them, and I want that. And I like to make them heavy. Put all the heavy.
Well,
stuff
that's a thing. So explain this to me, somebody out there. Why do they fill your bags halfway full? So it should be 4 bags and you have 16, because every bag, I'm like, throw more stuff in there. They just don't do it. There must be a thing where they're not supposed to. I'm like, guys, let's load this thing up. So I actually prefer to do it on my own. I'm like, just throw it in there.
Steve, how problematic are you finding radon in homes in Minnesota? Obviously, we've heard about radon. How common is it? Is this a big issue? Are you seeing it on every deal? How many radon installations have you guys done this year?
All right, bunch of questions in there, but the facts are 4 out of 10 homes in Minnesota have high radon levels that they recommend mitigating. We have been ramping up for the last few years, and it has been very busy for us this year. Hundreds and hundreds of installs. We do 1 to 2 every day. Sometimes even on the weekends. We're doing one for Scott here.
Yeah, it was at an 11. That's the highest I've ever seen. I've never seen an 11.
So tell us what the scale is normally.
The scale it's rated in something called picoliters, but it just goes by numbers. 2 to 4 is, they still recommend it, but 4 is kind of that line where they say, hey, you should do something. And technically speaking, you breathe enough of that in for 70 years and your cancer rate is higher. It's like smoking. The more you smoke and the more intense it is, the more like it just all the probabilities go up. So, but I would say, most of our readings are below 10. So when you say 11, that's high.
That's a high one.
Linda Hip just commented. She said, I've had one read as high as 24.
Oh my gosh.
Yikes.
And my dear mother, again, happy belated birthday to Mom. We saw Mom this week. We should have Mom on the show sometime, I think. She said, Scott, they don't want the bags to be too heavy. That's why they don't load them up.
Oh my gosh.
And that's the truth.
Well, but it is interesting that you're Ryan's mother, because that is exactly the answer. Well, Scott, they don't want them too heavy.
I mean,
I'm carrying them. If I'm like, fill them up, they won't.
Well, but think about that. You walk out into the lot, okay, and they load you up. And this has happened where all of a sudden the bag rips and you're walking, you're right in the middle of Target, and everything just falls right under the
Here's
ground.
what Scott needs to do. You need to get back in self-checkout so you can self-bag.
Yes.
And you
Well, I
can
still
buy the
self-bag.
bulk.
Unless I go to Byerly's, because they always double bag it.
Yeah. Well,
Then
for
you
you,
also-
they do.
Then you also pay 15% more
They double bag for you.
for me.
I think you bring a giant, Rubbermaid bin,
Oh, people are doing that now.
right? You
Well,
bring
that's
that in with
Aldi.
you,
That's
and
Yeah,
Aldi.
they're bringing it. Yeah, they're
Yep.
bringing in their own stuff.
Fill that sucker up
Yeah.
and boom, put as much.
Steve
as you want
goes
in there.
to, do you go to Aldi, Steve?
I do.
Yes. Why?
I think the produce is above average, and it is. It is. It's
Yeah.
above average, and it is cost effective.
Yeah.
It's inexpensive.
Oh, it's a huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, I never even knew that.
No
but,
bags there.
but my
Scott.
assistant was like, "You need to go to Aldi." I'm like, "Really?" I went in there and I screwed it up the first time because they don't have bags, so you have to bring your own, do your own or whatever. But and I couldn't figure out the quarter to get my cart.
And I like it too because I don't get confused in there. It's not huge. It's like, well, where am I? What aisle? Oh, it's 7.
Yeah.
Here we go. We're going back live on air on the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for joining us. We're here till 11 o'clock here at WCCO. Hope your weekend is going well. Hey, welcome back to the Minnesota Real Estate Show, the second half of the show. We're grateful you're here listening, and we are wishing you and your families an upcoming great Thanksgiving. Know that that's coming up here soon, and hopefully you, your families, friends can take some time to relax, enjoy. Um, uh, should be a wonderful day. Got a feature again, Fong Cow on our team has a great listing. This one's in Crystal. It is 4837 Northland Avenue North, and it's for 500,000. It's newer, built in 2018. It's a 5-bed, 4-bath home. Has a finished basement, hardwood floors, 3-car attached garage. It is move-in ready. And Fong said, the address is 4837 Lakeland Avenue North in Crystal. 4837 Lakeland Avenue. Really nice property, Scott, to check that out.
Yeah, that sounds like a great one. I've got a new one that's going on the market probably today, coming soon. If not, it would be Monday. So keep an eye out for this one. 4432 Sparrow Drive in Minnetonka. It's Deep Haven Schools. Neighborhood goes up to about 3 million. It's a 2-acre lot. It's a home that it's an estate sale. The woman has been there for the entire time, so it has not been touched for about 40, 50 years. So it's a really good investment. Livable. It's a cute little Cape Cod. But again, the value is, if you updated the property, everything in the neighborhood is $1 million to $3 million. And this is going to be on the market at 650. So 650,000, 4432 Sparrow Drive in Minnetonka. Look for that to hit the market coming soon, either today or Monday.
Yeah, want to welcome on Steve Groen, Standard Water. Just a wonderful guy, owns the company. They do a lot of radon. We were talking during the break on social media about radon. Steve, what's new with Standard Water, and tell folks a little bit what you do.
Sure. Standard Water Control Systems, we've been a partner of yours for a couple of years. And as a sidebar, you mentioned that the WCCO audience has really been amazing.
They have been wonderful.
Yes, this is a good move. And
I mean, we have to talk slower.
Right? Scott does. Scott does.
I mean, didn't somebody call in and say you
does.
talk too fast?
Scott.
So we have to talk slower to the WCCO
Scott needs
audience.
to. Scott is terrible. So you were saying.
Yeah, so I'm a general contractor, and we do egress windows, radon mitigation, basement waterproofing, sump pumps, and exterior waterproofing and foundation repairs. So a lot of this stuff touches real estate. Many times there's a radon test done. If it's above 4, it typically needs to be mitigated, or some sort of agreement has to be in place. So I was mentioning on the break that we've done hundreds of installs this year for radon. I'm talking to realtors every single day and improving the lives of those who buy the homes or live in the homes to reduce the radon. It also reduces humidity, so they're good systems. With the waterproofing, there again, there's truth in the transaction. I don't know what the paperwork's called, but you have to disclose if there's been some sort of water damage. So we're getting calls all the time to come in, replace pumps, install drain tile systems, and just help the transactions go smooth. But in just general, we get a lot of phone calls from people who need that sort of work done.
Steve, there's passive radon mitigation systems and active, right?
Mm-hmm.
So differences between the two, and how effective is the passive one? Like, would anyone even consider a passive?
Well, passive is code in new homes. So they're all installed, they're there. I'm not sure what the percentage reduction is, but let's say it tests at a 6, maybe it gets it down to 3 with the passive. It kind of depends. There's a myriad of factors that go into that. With an active system, all you're doing is connecting a fan to it. Think of a bathroom fan. You turn it on. What's it doing? It's exhausting air outside from your bathroom. That's all a radon fan does. It just exhausts the air before it gets into your basement, not your basement air, before it gets in. So all that icky, crappy project managers, basement consultants that go out, give people advice on what to do. It's far more complex than you'd imagine. There's a myriad of solutions, a lot of solutions, and we offer variety to customers. My average tenure of my guys is over 20 years. So when we show up, it's not amateur hour. They do know what they're doing. So
Someone's got a wet basement, and in the wintertime it's not wet, it's just wet in the spring and summer and stuff like that. Like, is now a good time to address that, or would you recommend waiting until it's actually wet down there in the season?
yeah, that's a good question. Well, most people don't make changes in their life until they have to, right? But the smart ones get ahead of the curve. You get a better deal through the winter time. It's our slower period. It's a good time to call, have us out, give a free consultation, and then get on the schedule. Because once it gets busy, like in the spring, this spring we had a pretty good rain come down, and all of a sudden, literally every day that goes by, we add 2 weeks to our install schedule because the sales are just pouring in. No pun intended. So yeah, stay ahead of the curve. If you have a problem, why not make the phone call, find out more, help you make a decision. We're there to help.
Yeah, it's important. Obviously, looking online at reviews now. This past week, we needed to use a plumber. It was an out of state property. Needed to use a plumber, but had just a really terrible customer service experience. And as we kind of look back, we wish we had looked a little closer, Steve, at reviews. When you look at reviews for Standard Water and what you are doing, you guys really are, I mean, you can tell they are honest, they're legitimate reviews. They are outstanding. I mean, that speaks to you and your company.
Yes. And so we have 700 Google reviews, 4.9 rating. We're not perfect. We got a 1 star in there and 2 star, and everyone's got their story. So it's real. It's not like we're the fake 5-star people or something like that. But we're obsessed with it. So we put customer service at the top, making people happy. And those reviews, I mean, it's like Amazon. You buy from someone who's got a low number of reviews? No. You buy someone with a lot of reviews and a low rating? No. You got to combine them and have both. And we definitely have that.
Well, you know why? You know why you're at 4.9%? Because a small percentage of the population is batshit nuts. I mean, seriously, if you think about it, at least when I read a bad review and I read all these great reviews, and then I read one that's just a horrible review, I always go, we've all had that client, or we've all had that customer, we've all had that person, because there's a percentage of the population that is just nuts.
We all know the one person that they're never happy
No,
about
they're
anything.
never happy.
There's always one out there, and we all know
Yeah.
one person that has that, and that's the person that goes in there and gives a bad review.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're up against sorry, Steve. We're up against our final break here at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Before we do, though, wanted to give a shout out. Linda Hipp, agent on the Minnesota Real Estate team, has got a really nice listing at 821 Elm Street West in Norwood, Young America. It's for $245,000, and it's a well cared for 2-bed, 2-bath rambler. It's got a great backyard, lots of updates throughout the home, Mike. It's got a new furnace, new AC, updated kitchen, flooring, main floor bathroom, windows and siding, a great backyard, a spacious shed, she said, and you can add more living space by finishing the basement. So that's out in Norwood, Young America, 821 Elm Street West for $245,000 with Linda Hipp. Be sure to check that one out. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for joining us. I'm sorry, Steve, I interrupted you there with your comment. You were talking about reviews,
well,
importance of reviews.
I was going to say, so we all take Uber occasionally.
Mhm.
I've been on, I don't know, 100 Uber rides, 200 Uber rides, and they all have their ratings, right? And some are like 4.97 or something. And you ask these guys, like, hey, how come you're not like a 5? Oh, that so-and-so gotten like, I don't know what they did. I think they meant to check 5-star, but they checked 1 star and they got their, like, they remember all the people who gave them like the 1 star because they're paid different. There's differential pay.
Well, I'll tell you a story. Ryan knows this. So on all my Google reviews, I'm a 5. So 5 out of 5. I have 1 from like 20 years ago. And I just went through this with the guy. And I was like, he wasn't my client. He was the seller, who was also an agent, and he listens every week. So I know he's listening. I won't say his name, but anyways, he gave me a 1, and I represented the buyer. He was the seller and also the agent. And so for years, it just bothered me because I was like, what did I do? I mean, I was obviously on the other side, but it just completely bothered me. But I knew he listened to the show every week. And so finally, Ryan's like, why don't you just reach out to him? So I reached out to him and I said, hey, you're the only, one review I've ever had that was bad. And I'm just wondering why. And he was like, oh my God. He goes, that's a mistake. I didn't mean to give you a bad review, because he was the only one that could go in and change it, because it was on Facebook. I think they're the only ones that can go in and change it. So I was glad I made that call, because it literally, well, Ryan knows me, it bothered me for years. I was like, what in the world did I do that made this guy so mad?
Yeah, appreciate you joining us again each week. mnrealestateshow.com is where you can go to see all of our great partners. You have questions at all that come in, anything looking for a market update, a market analysis update. Steve Grown, Standard Water, kind of last thoughts for folks as we head to the home stretch.
Well, last thoughts is, if you're wondering if your radon levels are high in your home, just have them tested. You don't have to wonder. In fact, if you contact me via standardwater.com, I'll send you a free carbon filter test kit. You can test radon. If it's too high, we can help out too, but at least find out.
Yeah, just to know. That's really good. Mike, do you see it a lot from ability to get financing?
Radon doesn't really hit the radar as far as any financing goes. No, there's no issues, no worries on that. Now, if you have a purchase agreement that calls for a radon test and the radon test is high, typically the purchase agreement says there's got to be some sort of remedy. So now that the purchase agreement calls for some sort of remedy, we have to document that the remedy actually happened, because it's part of the purchase agreement. But no, it's if the purchase agreement doesn't call for anything like that, if there's high radon and there's no call for a remedy or anything, it's that's on the buyer.
Yeah, comment came in. Best tip for a first-time home buyer. Do you guys have a best tip for a first-time home buyer?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of them, but the best tip for a first-time home buyer, best tip for a first-time home buyer, at least from my perspective, would be the purchase you're making needs to be, how would I say this? It needs to roll into a really good equity position when you are going to sell it. So basically, making the right decision on the first home that you make is extremely important. And so again, it always goes back to make sure you have a really good agent that understands the market, understands what you should be buying, so you're going to position yourself good.
Yeah, my biggest tip, I would say, is hire a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Have an agent help you through the process. Mike, your tip?
Well, I was going to say that too. I mean, the right real estate agent will make the difference. They got the whole team around them, right? They will point you in the right direction for mortgage. They'll point you in the right direction for anything that you need throughout the process.
There we go. Welcome back to the final segment of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We want to wish all of the CCO listeners a great upcoming Thanksgiving with you, your families, your friends. Hard to believe we are already coming up into Thanksgiving year. The year has zipped by really quickly, and we've had Steve Grown on air with us, Standard Water, today. Steve, the best way for people to connect with you and your company, whether it's fellow agents, brokers, listening, watching, homeowners, people looking to buy real estate, best way for people to connect?
Our website, standardwire.com, and our phone number on there. You can text or call, and email service@standardwire.com. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. But my office staff is on it. So someone emails, texts, calls. I mean, we are on it because customer service is number one.
Yeah, we great job as always. Encourage you to reach out to Steve Grown, Standard Water. Had a text message question coming in. It sounds like this is a buyer who's trying to get approved, looking at FHA versus conventional. Mike, any thoughts of which direction to go, FHA loan or conventional?
It's one of those things. Scott and I have a client right now where it was like, you can go both ways. She qualifies for FHA. She qualifies for conventional based on her credit score and her debt to income ratio, all these other factors that come into play. It was better for her to go FHA on the number side of things. And at this time of the year, an FHA offer can get accepted. And the offer that we made said, hey, we're gonna start with FHA. Buyer can switch to conventional if something comes up along the way.
Yep.
So that was a safe play, obviously, for the seller, because we can go both ways on the loan. But it really comes down to, I guess, what the individual's borrowing profile. What's their credit score? What's their debt to income ratio? Things like that. Both loans work a little bit differently. Their mortgage insurance works differently. So it's really based on individual characteristics.
Yeah, it is, and this is a situation where you go back to the first 4 months of last year, there were no FHA deals getting done. And so again, this is a good market, and we can't beat this drum enough. The next 3 months till the end of January, if you are an FHA buyer, VA buyer, minimum down conventional buyer, please do not wait till the spring market if you want to buy a house. There's still plenty of houses out there. There's not as much pressure right now. This particular FHA offer, I got closing costs paid by the seller for my buyer. So this is a great time right now to buy.
Yeah, again, throughout the show, you're always welcome to text or call the CCO Talk and Text line. Or again, you can reach us at 612-294-6949 by phone or text. You have questions about buying a home, selling a home, investing in real estate. Our team, the Minnesota Real Estate Team, we've got a top agent really all over Minnesota and Western Wisconsin, and have worked with clients really in wherever you might be listening to the show. We've got a top agent on our team. We were talking a little bit about reviews, Google reviews. Definitely, Google our team, the Minnesota Real Estate Team. We've been fortunate enough to work with just a lot of really kind-hearted people over the years. So we're grateful for that. Mike, I can tell you got a thought hot on the brain there, friend. You do too, Steve.
I have a question. Can I? My question for you. We talked about new homes aren't being built. Why aren't they building more homes?
That's a great question. I mean, Scott, what's your thought there?
Well, what happened a year and a half ago when it really kind of stopped was you couldn't get any supplies. Everything was through the roof. It was crazy. And then we went from 6% to 8.5% in about 90 days. And that was coming. So I think builders they backed off a little bit. You don't want to get caught with 15 spec homes when rates go from 5% to 8.5%, because you're going to take a beating. So I think everybody kind of saw this coming. We're not going to stay at 3% forever. It started going up. So I think builders, they backed off.
Yeah. And if we go back to the crash, 2006 to 2009, right? So a lot of lots were going back to the bank. There was a lot of foreclosures, a lot of everything, right? It was not only just houses that people were living in, it was the land that they were going to build on, and developments going under and this and that. So you take that there, and through 2010 to 2020 to come out of that, it took years to come out of that and get that land foreclosed on and take all that stuff back and now get it back out on the market.
Oh my gosh. If you were a mid-sized builder, I'm talking about really good builders, between 2007 and 2010, if you were a mid-sized builder outside of a handful, you went bankrupt. I mean, I could tell you 20 builders that were excellent builders that had been in business for 40 years, 30 years, one that was in business for 70 years, that went belly up, because if you got caught, you're building 15 specs at $800,000 and now they're worth $350,000, you're in trouble.
Scott, last thoughts for the listeners today?
Just what I've been kind of saying and Mike's been saying as well, again, and again, we're going over this time and time again, get out there, buy now. We talked about it last week. Marry your home, date your rate, buy the house right now, buy your house right now at the value it's worth, watch rates and refinance. Don't wait till spring and pay $50,000 more for it.
Steve, any last thoughts for us there, friend?
If you're in a home and considering radon mitigation, egress windows, basement waterproofing, get your quote now. There's no downside. Get information. We do installs all year round. Here to help. StandardWater.com.
Yeah, nice job, Mike.
Yeah, same thing. Just echoing Scott. Next 3 months, if you're a buyer out there, next 3 months is gonna be your best time to buy a house. So if you're looking at buying a house sometime in the next 12 months, these next 3 months that we're in right now coming up is going to be your best time.
Yeah, we appreciate you joining us here in the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Special shout out to our friend Dennis. Dennis comes in here every Saturday morning to deal with us. Does a wonderful job producing this show. He could host the show too. Let's be honest. Wonderful guy. But again, to all the CCO listeners, happy Thanksgiving to you and your families. We're grateful for you. Enjoy the weekend ahead. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us on social media. Good topic, Scott. A lot of fun comments, questions, and we're going to think about that now when we go to the grocery store. You are, Steve, right?
Yes.
Bagging or no
Grab my
bagging?
bag. Here we go.
Well, for those that want us to talk slower, happy Thanksgiving.
You're terrible, Scott. Hey, we appreciate it, though. Hope you have a great weekend, Mike, Steve, Scott. Great job. Thanks, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.